She thinks she's getting out from under her mother's shadow, but really she's just stepping into the shadow of another big, outrageous personality writer in a small town.
Welcome to our latest episode of Book Reporter Talks To. Our guest today is Jenny Jackson, someone I'm very much looking forward to talking to. And we're going to be talking about her latest book, The Shampoo Effect. Jenny's last book, Pineapple Street, was a New York Times bestseller, and it was one of my Book Reporter bets on selections. Loved it. Shampoo Effect was just announced as today's show's Read with Jenna July pick, and it will be a Book Reporter bets on selection as well. And I am going to go right out on a limb right now and say, I think this is going to be the book of the summer. I absolutely think that people are going to be doing it. She's knocking everywhere. Our reviewer, Nora Peel, had this to say about it. If you're heading out on a vacation soon, or even if you're doing more of a staycation, the shampoo effect just begs to be part of your summer reading plans. It's not that just the delightfully beach cover, although that certainly helps set the mood. Jenny Jackson's second novel offers the perfect blend of substance and style, all served up with plenty of small town scandal. I love it. And with that intro, welcome, Jenny. I've been looking forward to this.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, and what a terrific introduction to the book.
It's like, here we go, folks. We're on.
Right?
We're on. So let's start with you telling us about the shampoo effect.
Sure. So, The Shampoo Effect is the story of a young woman named Caroline Lash. Caroline is from New York. She's the daughter of a famous writer, and she wants to kind of step out on her own. So, she wins this fellowship to leave New York and go live in a cottage in a seaside town in Massachusetts, where she's going to write the great American novel. But she gets there, and instead of writing, she falls in love with a guy. He's a local named Van Whitaker. He's a townie. He's an environmentalist. He rides his bike everywhere. And instead of getting any work done at all, she becomes sucked into his world and his group of friends. But when she finds out that Van's ex-girlfriend is pregnant with his baby, everything becomes more complicated.
And just from there, you're sitting and going, oh, wow. Oh, wow. Yes, baby, who, where, what's going on? Who's that girl? Wait, was she at the other dinner the other night? Yeah, it goes like that. The book is told from varying points of view. And I remember you did the same thing with Pineapple Street. What do you like about that format for telling a story?
I love, love, love to write in a close third person point of view that rotates. I think for me, it's because when you're writing from different perspectives, you have the chance to explore misunderstandings. You have the chance to explore the ways in which really good people with good intentions can totally mess up and get crossways. And so I'm not interested in writing about big villains. I'm not interested in writing, there are no murders in this book. I'm interested in writing about decent people who misunderstand one another, who want different things, and who have to figure out how to be their best selves.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly. They all have this deep history with each other as well. There's lots going back, lots of stories. They've all lived together for a long time. Did you have their backstories all figured out, like exactly who they were when you started writing?
Somehow I did know a lot about these characters. I knew that Caroline had a complicated relationship with her mother, and I knew that she was a little younger than everyone. Then I knew that her romantic rival, Bailey, was going to be oil and water. She was going to be an entirely different kind of girl. So she's a little older. She's also fiercely independent. She is so thoroughly herself, doesn't really want a boyfriend, lives for herself. I knew that Augusta was going to be the sort of more conservative one, the more traditional one, a little prim, old money. And then Fran is a little bit based on my best friend. She, grew up with brothers, mother of boys, honestly just so sick and tired of all the guys around her that she can barely stand to put up with her partner RJ. That's not my best friend. My best friend loves her husband. But just like that girl who is great company, but probably is like dressed like the Celtics water boy with her hair in a ponytail all the time.
Exactly. This is like, what we're going to do. And then was there one that you enjoyed writing the most?
So one of the funny things is in every book, I have these secondary characters, and I'm not doing this on purpose, but I have these secondary characters who are just kind of lunatic, loose cannons. So in Pineapple Street, I had the mother Tilda, and Tilda was just an absurd person, and she had lots of great one-liners. Without meaning to, I think my peripheral characters in the Shampoo Effect. So Caroline's mother, Gwendolyn Lash, best-selling thriller writer, free to like go off on a tirade about something at a moment's notice. And then also Caroline's sort of like arch enemy, this guy Ned Clark, who is his literary agent, and he's sort of a snake and a cad, but he's also really fun. So my secondary characters, I just sometimes have to like take my hands away from the keyboard because they're so fun to write, but I don't want the book to be full of lunatics. I just like a little goes a long way.
I also think the babysitter's somewhat of a lunatic.
Oh,
And
I
we will
love
get to
her.
the babysitter later because she's got some lines that are just so candid. I just absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. So Caroline's the outsider. She's in town writing for the sabbatical that's under the Palmer Preston Foundation, which just sounds, she won this. She's able to come up here. And the author wrote a book called Tarbox. And tell us about Preston and how his work ties into this book, and also the fact that there's the movie being shot at the same time. You pulled it all together.
Yes. Yes. So the really deep backstory on this that I'll say quickly is I grew up in a town called Ipswich, Massachusetts. Ipswich is an hour north of Boston, and Ipswich is the home of the famous American novelist John Updike. So John Updike moved from New York to Ipswich in the 1960s, and he wrote his great American novels there. He wrote the Rabbit books there. He won the Pulitzer, cover of Time magazine. In 1968, he wrote his biggest book yet. It was called Couples, and it was this sexy, outrageous, over the top book about wife swapping in a small community. Cover of Time magazine, huge scandal in town. Everybody wanted to know who was who. And the town of Ipswich, which in the book he had called Tarbox, became sort of the nexus of all the gossip. And out of all the couples in his friend group, all but two of them got divorces, and Updike and his wife had to move off to London for a year to let the situation cool down. So I sort of modeled the idea of Palmer Preston on John Updike. So we have this famous writer who made a big splash in a small town, and now he's left this fellowship for another writer to come in. So Caroline gets this fellowship, and it's like she thinks she's getting out from under her mother's shadow, but really she's just stepping into the shadow of another big, outrageous personality writer in a small town.
Yeah, and she's sitting there like, wait, wait, how did I get this? Did that agent help me? Was he using me to get to my mother? I mean, it's all great. It's all
She has major imposter syndrome.
major, major imposter. Caroline also sees another cultural revolution coming to Greenhead in all the different ways that people are viewing their sexuality and their parenting. She's seeing this. At one point, Augusta's babysitter Zoe says, I love this line, you millennials are the last straight generation. It's now more okay to be gay and talk about it. You love writing about these different generations. And I just thought it was so perfect where this girl is lecturing the other
Yes.
generation. And when they came home and one night and find the babysitter, and you're just sitting there like, this girl is outrageous. Like I would run from that house and never come back. But oh no, she's back and lecturing the woman at the home. So I love it.
Okay, I'm going to tell a completely inappropriate story, and I'll tell it in a way where we won't get any spoilers. When I was a kid, we had this babysitter, and I woke up one night for a glass of water, and I came down, and the babysitter had invited her boyfriend over. And I walked into the living room and witnessed something that I should not have witnessed. And of course, I told my mom, I don't really like her. Don't have her babysit anymore. Well, she showed up 2 years later as the assistant teacher in my classroom. So I had to spend a whole year on this babysitter. So I love a crazy babysitter.
Yeah.
Love it. It is just like totally amusing to me. So I had to put one in the book. And that's this babysitter.
Yeah. Ours was not crazy, but ours did have her boyfriend over and said, don't say anything. And we knew the guy.
No.
So it was like really funny. It was, we're not supposed to say anything about what, we didn't even know what we weren't supposed to be doing. It's just like, now you also have the notorious green flies. And as somebody who spent some time on Long Beach Island, when the flies came off the bay, you just wanted to lose your mind because all you want to do is sit there with your book, but instead you had to go home and close the door. So I felt every bite your characters get. I feel like I'm going to put the lotion on with them. And I feel a story, you can't tell a story about the beach and be legit without the green flies. Do you agree?
Totally. I mean, there are 2 weeks a year in my hometown in Ipswich where the locals just go away. If you know someone in Vermont, if you know someone in Maine, wherever you can go, just leave. They don't suck your blood. They have a jaw and they masticate the skin and lick up the blood. Like it is unbelievably brutal what these flies do. So, and also I love the symbolism that even the most perfect place in the world has a little bit of bite to it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. There's the bite to what's going on. I love it. I love it. So let's talk about the concept of the shampoo effect because you write it into the prose. It's like you can never totally wash someone away.
Yeah. So I first encountered the term the shampoo effect when I was, maybe a freshman in college. And we would have a big night of, drinking games. And then the next morning at homecoming, people would hand out beers and they would say, when you have a sip of beer the next day, all the alcohol in your system kind of comes rushing back. And it's that same thing when you do a second scrub of shampoo in the shower and the bubbles just come right out. And so I wanted to call the book The Shampoo Effect because it's about these old friends who never really get out of each other's systems. One little remark and it'll set them off, or, one romantic glance and they're off making out in a closet again. It's really just like these old friends who never get out of your system.
Yeah, they're all there and you're going to see each other the same way. You can't change. No,
No,
you're
you
the same
can't.
way. In the same way. So Carolyn's mother is this very successful author, Gwendolyn Lash, and at one point she's getting a literary prize, but she's not getting it for her work. She's getting it for her contribution to the literary community. And she's got this issue because she's not being honored for her work. And it's just so funny. You captured so well what happens at awards programs. And I've had friends come up to me and say, um, one friend in particular said, I really want to be eligible for prizes. And I said, how much did you sell? And he says, 1,500. I said, you're eligible. And he just, I said, I'm telling you right now. And as an insider, it was so much fun to see Gwendolyn's thoughts about, wait a second, I've sold millions of copies, but it's either you sell millions of copies or you win prizes or you win a
Yes.
different prize. Like M. Patchett's
Yes.
different prize. You can't get that prize.
Right. Or, Stephen King gets contribution to the literary community, even though like his books are all excellent. But you're right. It's like too much success and you're not eligible for a prize. And she just goes on a tirade about it. But I'm going to be careful and be like, that's Gwendolyn's tirade. That's not my tirade. So me, Jenny Jackson, I'm still eligible, right?
I can still do this, I think. Okay, so go back to a line you talked about before. I love the line when Fran's headed to this conference and Augusta comes over so that she can borrow clothes. She's got to go to Augusta to get clothes. She says, you cannot go to a professional conference dressed like the Celtics water boy. And
Yes.
she shares that Fran's present bathing suit was fine if you're cleaning out a fish tank, but otherwise it's not a viable piece of clothing. Do you think real friends tell it like it is?
I do. I mean, again, like my best friend and I used to live together, and it was like she just dressed out of my closet because she is like I'm a clothes horse. I love buying
Yeah.
clothes. She could not give less of a care about what she's going to put on her body. And I think that is like the key to a close relationship. I brought my family with me to the Today Show yesterday, and I looked at my father and I said, Dad, I'm so excited that you're going to come, but you're not allowed to wear your gray octopus sweatshirt. And he looked at me and was like, I don't have anything else. I'm like, borrow something from my husband. You're not wearing that.
It's really funny. Every once in a while, I'll say to my sons, wait a second, you're going out like that? Where are you going? And they go, it's perfectly acceptable, but where? I mean, I worked at a fashion magazine for 17 years. I actually think about matching the book cover. I actually think about these things. No, 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 no. It's so funny. I also love that when the children go to school, it's like they go to a black box because you don't really know what happens there all day long. And I think that's such a big thing for parents because everybody's so nervous about their kids going to school. And like they go through that door and you have no idea. They're being indoctrinated. Like, what is happening?
Nothing. No, that my son comes home and the most I can get out of him is maybe who he sat with on the bus or if he traded a Pokemon card with someone, but nothing else. That's it. That's all I know.
Yes, and they gave you such good words about Pokemon. I mean, you have been schooled in Pokemon. It's very clear in this
I'm
book.
kind of an expert at this point. I have an 8-year-old son.
I remember the first day my younger one went to school, we told him about getting on the bus. We didn't talk to him about getting off the bus. So it goes past our house and he's waving at us out the window. And we're going, where is he planning to get off? Like, where is the stop was over there? Like, and it's just so funny. And you watch them at the beginning of the year. Everybody comes in like primly dressed in their first day of school outfit. And then from there, where is your sweatshirt? I did an event the other night and it was held in a school and school has closed, but the lost and found table, you could have gone through that table. There was a ski jacket there that was so nice. I'm like, who leaves the jacket? And the mother never.
Right? Right? Truly, I have spent more money on name tags than I have on any single item of clothing because
Right,
I'm just trying to keep track of some of them.
right. Are both your children boys? Are they both boys?
No, I have a 10-year-old daughter and she just left for summer camp and I have labeled everything. I labeled her comforter and my husband was like, "How's she gonna lose her blanket?" I'm like, "You don't know this girl. She's going to. We're putting a label on it."
Somebody might share it. It might come back at the end of the year or not. You want the mother to go home and go, why do you have this one? Who do they have?
Right?
You
This
know?
does not belong to you.
I just think it's so much fun. And it's also the way they play. You really captured how children play because they don't do one thing. They ferret from one thing to the other. And I'm at an age where my friends are having grandchildren. And I'm thinking, they sit there, they don't do anything. Wait till next summer when you're running after them all over the place to figure out what they're going to do next because they're like skittish. They go here, there, the other place. And you capture that in the
Yes.
book.
Even my sweet, sweet boy will walk up to the edge of the water where there are people swimming and pick up a rock to throw in the water. And I'm like, "You can't throw rocks where there are people swimming." And he's like, "Oh, I didn't throw it at them." But it's like constant, constant monitoring of what like totally socially out of bounds thing my child is about to do.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's like, wait a second, wait, where are they going? What are they going to do? It's no, 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 no. And we have a pool that's very exposed. Like there's no fence right around. There's fence around the property, but not around the pool.
Sure.
I sat there last week and I said to my husband, "We ever have grandchildren? We're gonna really think about this thing. Either that or we're gonna put them in the life jacket as soon as they wake up,
That's
because
it. That's perfect. Just life jacket. Yeah.
but they are really funny. Like when they go to the beach, what they will be, you'll bring all the toys, you'll bring everything,
Yeah.
and there'll be two rocks and four shells, and
Yes.
there'll be a hole and there'll be water in it. And that's about it.
Yes. That's it. Or my husband, we call him, sorry, my child, Freudian slip. My child, we call him the powdered donut because all he wants to do is roll around in the sand and just coat himself.
I'm just thinking like the shower's outdoors when we go home, thank God, because it's like going to be the worst. There's so many secrets wrapped up here, and I don't want to give anything away. Did you have that all mapped out as you were going in? Like you knew your characters. Did you know what they were hiding?
I knew the two big secrets.
Mhm.
And I find it's most helpful for me if I know where I'm mostly gonna end and I know the big crisis and then I write towards the crisis. But this one was interesting because so for Pineapple Street, I took a bunch of meetings with film and television and they kept saying, "Oh, well, when we shoot the pilot, we want to put the main action in the first episode. So we'll have to move this up and move that up." So when I sat down to write the shampoo effect, I was like, I am so smart. I am gonna like take everything I learned from the first book and put all the action up front. So I put the fact that Caroline loved Van, but Van's ex-girlfriend Bailey was pregnant right up front. But in the first draft that I sent my editors, they're like, "Hey, this is fun, but like, why do we care about Van and Caroline if we learn that Bailey's pregnant right away?" And I was, "Oh, right. Writing for a book is different than writing for TV." So I went back and then put in everything that I know about Caroline and Van. But it's different that I really did want to put that piece of action, the pregnancy, up front. Because to me, it's like so often in books and movies, the pregnancy is like, the product of a long relationship. But here it's like, what happens if you find the love of your life and he's having a baby with someone else?
And he says it's going to be okay. Oh, it's all
He
going to be okay.
does. He's so idealistic, that sweet man.
He's so ideal, and he's so idealistic then about him becoming the father of the child and spending lots of time. He has no idea what he's gotten himself into, like no idea.
Mm-mm.
And she has no idea as she's laboring to have that child what was going to go on. She obviously watched none of the movies about what the was going to be. She is completely leganged about everything. She just can't even understand what's going on, you know?
I think that every single one of them has these very idealistic notions about what a baby does, because I've always said, there's that common phrase like a baby is a bomb that goes off in a marriage, but like these characters aren't married. So this baby is a bomb that goes off in the middle of a friend group and it just detonates everybody around them.
Right, right. And then the other woman's breastfeeding on the beach, and everybody's going, how can she be doing that? Because she's usually not. And everybody upends like their thoughts about who the other person is. It just is
Yes.
you, I have you in this box like this, but you're not really like this. Carolyn, you're not really like this, Caroline. They learn you're really like
Hmm.
this, and they get a big shock of
Hmm.
their lives. And it's all
Hmm.
those things that they just never see coming. That's
Hmm.
and then, okay, you've got titles at the start of the chapters, but they're also titles within them. Now, were they always there or were they added as you wrote?
They were always there, and it's interesting because my editor and I went back and forth about them. So every chapter title is a little joke of sorts that takes place in the chapter. And so my editor was like, I don't know, you're like, are you stepping on the joke by having them as the chapter titles? But I just like made myself laugh so much with them that I thought, I'm gonna leave them in there, and if people start feeling like they don't want to read the chapter titles, they can just skip them.
Yeah,
But they're little jokes, and they're little like you wouldn't know what is going to happen based on the little chapter title. But I like that when you then get to that part of the chapter, you get a little zing of recognizing the joke, you know?
this is like, wait, why is that word there? Oh, wait, I think I'm going to see in like 2 seconds.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Exactly.
And you're also not at the end of the chapter because sometimes you say, oh, I'm just going to read at the end of the chapter. And I remember saying to my husband, I'm just going to finish the chapter. Wait, that's not the end of the chapter. I need a little bit longer. Give me a couple more pages, just, whatever. So now, also, Caroline's got this friend Nina back in the city. And what I love is what you do is because they've got this running text dialogue going back and forth. And what I felt like it was a way for Caroline to get some context on what she was doing because it can't be Caroline talking to any of these people because they all
Yes.
really don't want her around. And this friend of hers is just blunt honest on what are you
Yes.
doing, girl?
Right. I thought that so Caroline is younger than the rest of this gang. She's 28, they're 32, they're 34. She's also a New Yorker. She's urban, she's kind of plugged in, and she speaks in sort of like a young vernacular that the others don't really speak in. And so I needed to show her personality more, and I needed her to be able to like talk about what was going on. And so as I was writing, I had to figure out a way because she's not going to be confiding her feelings to anybody else. She also decides not to tell her mom some pretty major stuff. She doesn't tell her parents that her boyfriend's having a baby with someone else. Fair enough, they wouldn't be that supportive.
Not thrilled
And so
about
I
it, right?
yeah, I needed to give her a sounding board. And I think one of the things I decided was that we were never going to meet Caroline's best friend on the page. We
Mhm.
were only going to text with her because I think that's like a very younger millennial, elder Gen Z thing is like you just have these very long text relationships with
Yeah,
people. So that's
they're-
that's her person.
That's who they talk to. That's who they talk
Hmm.
to. I always tease my son, who's 31 now. I'll text him various things during the week, and at the end, I'll get yes, no, maybe, not sure. And then I
Oh
said,
my God.
I have to go back and play those against the questions. I said, can you not just answer when you? He's, I don't have my phone on all the time. Like, I don't have sounds on. I don't know you've reached out. And I'm like, oh my gosh, imagine if it was an emergency, you know?
Totally. But also, I'm inspired by that. If I turned
Oh,
off my phone, I would get so much done.
I know it is, it's kind of funny, like how much time happens on social media of just looking at things.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're like, why am I doing this? I want to
Yeah.
go read a book. I really don't care about any of this stuff. And I've been
Yes.
talking because we work with a lot of authors on their websites. We help them build websites, we do marketing and things like that. And I'm looking at the number of people who are their followers on the site. Like say it's 150,000, 450,000. And how many people actually engage? Like on a big thing, it's maybe 13,000. That's it. Out of this much bigger number. So this idea that we're all connecting in all the right ways over there, we're not really. It's if
Yeah.
it's not in your mix of what you're going to do. And if you like something, you're going to get it forever. I mean, you're just,
Yeah.
if you could buy something and you're still going to get it forever, it's like, I don't want this thing anymore. But
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. One of the things that we're seeing, on the publishing side is that word of mouth remains the most powerful tool that we have. And especially as like review coverage has been drying up and people have been, laid off who worked for the Washington Post or whatever, it's like we really need word of mouth. An author can, push their own book on social media to a point, but what people really want are people talking to each other and saying, I read this, I read that. We're like so oversaturated by being advertised to that really the way we want to hear about books is from our friends and people we trust, our book clubs, our communities, each other, and it's very democratic and lovely, actually.
Yeah, we've been doing this newsletter for 30 years and we've been updating the site for 30 years. And it's really interesting because I'd met some people last week at an event with Lisa C. And they wrote after and says, you're just like on the page. Like it's not like you're some phony person. And I said, no, I really am not like that. That's
Yeah.
me. I mean, I
Yeah.
can be funny, I can be self-deprecating, I can show you the cake I made that was really bad, I can show you the one that looked really good. But I think that so much is so polished these days, and I
Yes.
don't think polished is what we're all looking for. I also will say that
Agree.
we have a pool here at the house, but it doesn't have a heater. So last September, I was at the club reading in the pool, and I'm standing there with a book, and people are coming over. What are you reading? So I'm telling them, and then they're coming back with their phone and they're ordering. So I just sat there and I said, wait a second, this could be a
Yes.
good gig. Just stand in the pool and read and sell, like because I'm
Yes.
looking for authority. And now what I find is because I've been doing these events, talking to people at our club, people come up to me. I just want you to know what I read. Like they swim over to me to tell me. And I said,
Yes.
this is what you're looking for. This is word of mouth. This is
Yes.
just a review someplace. And you
Yes.
don't have Times list anymore. Yeah, I looked at that yesterday and I was like, okay, that is not true. That is not real what's going on at all. So,
There's some huge series right now on the Times list.
yes.
And so if you're into that series, great. But if you're not, then it is like half a dozen spots on the list,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know.
Yesterday, somebody told me it's a half dozen spots. I didn't believe it. I saw it. I was like, you have got to be kidding. But that
Yeah.
can't be because then I look at the numbers and it's not realistic. It's not really what's going on. And that makes me
Yeah.
even crazier. So
Well, we'll never know how the New York Times manages their bestseller list. It's one of the great secrets, along with like the Fountain of Youth.
you don't know. You don't know where those numbers come from, how it's made. And that's the reason you have to look more in one place. And if you're an author who is used to hitting the list, there needs to be, it's just not the same as what it was. It's just not the same thing. It doesn't also have the same cachet as a result. It has the cachet, but it's been kind of minimized by what you do. It's sort of like if you always serve really gourmet dinners and then you throw out McDonald's or you do something different, nobody quite understands. Like, I thought you were filet mignon. There's also something that I think it's kind of subtle, and I'm going to see if I've got this right. There are two female swans, Hissy and Prissy, and
Mhm.
the ospreys that mate for life and return each year. And I saw something of a metaphor of what happens with the humans in this place, what mating means to them or what it could mean, what friendship means. Am I reading in too much into this or am I on point?
No, you're right. I was so kind of taken with how they're all living in this beach community surrounded by this natural beauty. Van, who is in some ways just like he's a really wonderful guy. His main job is to work for the trustees of reservation and tend the sand dunes and find nesting places for piping plovers and to prevent erosion. And that's sort of symbolic of his role in his friendship group. He's trying to prevent erosion and he's trying to make a safe place for people to nest. And so the birds and nature are a big part of the way that I think about like the town and these characters. And the greenhead flies that we were talking about earlier are part of that too. The person who is most bothered by the greenhead flies is Caroline, the newcomer. So it's like the town is like the nature is like punishing the newcomer and it's and like being preserved against change.
Right. She's the one. And I just said the others mate for life. And you're sitting there talking about that because mating for life is something that comes up in this book more than one time of what are relationships and are they going to last or what's going to happen? So you had this whole thing plotted out. You weren't writing as you went along. Did you outline in advance or just up here?
I did not outline in advance, but with both my books, once I got about halfway, I knew the beats that I had to hit to get to the end. And so once I was halfway, I started doing kind of rougher outlines so that I would know big picture what had to happen. I might not know that the scene was going to be at an apple orchard. I might not know, that where Caroline was going to end up. Well, I did know where she'd end up on her kayak, but some of them I don't know exactly how it's going to unfold. But I know, okay, in this scene, we need to see these two characters try and fail to connect. Okay, in this scene, we need someone to eat humble pie. Oh, and so I start to know like the beats that I'm gonna hit, and I make ish outlines about that.
So when you were doing Pineapple Street, you did it in 4 months. You wrote in 4 months. I think it was COVID though during those time. What
Yes.
happened this time? Were you able to write as quick?
Oh, this time, well, hold on. I'm gonna make sure I'm not freezing.
No, you're not. I don't think so.
I'm sorry, our Wi-Fi is sometimes bad. Okay, am I back?
Yeah, you're back. You're back.
Great. Okay. Um, so this time it was a much harder, longer process. COVID was over. I am like out most nights for work. I'm getting my kids out the door to school in the morning. And so this time it took me about 2.5 years to write the book. And I wrote it in like huge, long chunks rather than writing little bits every single morning. My husband would take the kids skiing and I would stay home and write for 4 days. My husband would take the kids to their grandparents. I would stay home and write for 4 days. 2 weeks at Christmas, 2 weeks in August, 2 weeks at spring break. So I really just would go like deep underwater writing and then come out and live in the real world. Whereas last time I was able to kind of sprinkle it through differently. But just for me, especially because I'm a book editor during the day, I needed to compartmentalize more.
Yeah, and you have this big job. I mean, it's you're just not just an editor, you're the president editorial director of Knopf. I mean, okay, let's get real. This is a very big job. And to give listeners and viewers an idea of what this means, you're the editor of Yesteryear by Carol Claire Burke, which has been rocking the bestseller list this year
Yeah.
since it comes out. And you also edit authors like Gabriel Zevin, Emily St. John, Mandel, Chris Brazilian. I mean, this is a day job where there is a lot going out at night, and but there's also a lot of thinking about other people's work during the day as well and
Yeah.
how to manage their work and also what's going on in the writing space, what's going on with readers. And it can sit there and kind of overcome like what you're going to be doing. There's a lot
Yeah. I mean, I have to think of it almost like I have a hot faucet and a cold faucet. And when one of those faucets is on, it's full blast. And then, and then when I want to write, I have to switch faucets, let it heat up, and go from the other tap. I can't really just flip back and forth in an instant. On the other hand, my job has given me the opportunity to like basically open up the engine and like look at all the parts in some of the most amazing books. And I get to have like these incredible friendships with these amazing writers, some of whom have given me incredible advice. Chris Bajalian and I are good friends. And Chris once said to me, he's written like 27 novels. He said, every single one of my books has tried to kill itself at some point. And when I was really stuck on part of the shampoo effect, and in another world, I would have been tempted to throw it out the window. I kept thinking, if Chris Bajalian has published 27 books and he still feels this way, I think I can get through it on my second book,
yeah,
And so having these friendships, yeah, they've really like that advice has saved me so many times.
my husband is really glad that the new book has to do with golf. Chris's new book has to do with golf, simply because my husband plays golf competitively. He's very good. He plays golf a lot. I understand about that much. Okay. I
Yeah,
sit by the pool and read. I'm very good at that. That's my skill. And he will go out and he'll come back and decide he did an eagle, birdie, all this stuff. I have no clue of what he's talking about.
piping plover, greenhead, swan.
None of it, like, okay, what are you talking about? What is going on? So I keep joking that Taylor Jenkins Reid taught me about tennis, and I need somebody to teach me about golf. And I said, here we go. This is the book that may do it. I've got to get this.
Carol, you are gonna love it. The Amateur is one of the best books Chris has ever written, and it's about this young woman. She's a teenage golf prodigy, and one day she's at the practice net. She takes a swing, the ball rips through the net and hits a boy in the head. And the investigation into it kind of turns this whole town on its head, and um, it just becomes about a whole world of sort of like um, New York in the 1970s, young woman dating older men, parents that drink heavily at dinner. What could go wrong? It is so fascinating.
I've heard nothing but great things about it. And I'm like, and I've been talking it up for months. And I
Oh,
said,
good. Okay. Yes. Well, next month when you, I mean, I know you're working through and it's an August book, so you
it's an
have
August
time,
book.
but
It's an
it's
August book. So
spectacular.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So you're pretty good at self-editing? You're pretty good at that when you turn stuff in?
Sort of, but like I would never survive without Pamela Dorman, my editor. She
Mhm.
is just the gold standard.
Yeah. She'll just sit there and see something that nobody else is seeing. Yeah.
Yeah, or she makes me, face up to things that aren't working, or she will kill the same joke 6 times in a row until I get it right. Like I love it. She really makes me work.
It makes me work. It's like, and now you feel a little bit better when you go out and you have your editor, your author's work. You're like, oh, same kind of thing. Got it.
Yes, yes.
Do
But
what I can.
I love that every single round Pam lets me know the things I'm doing right. And so I always make a point to do that for my writers too.
Yeah. And you say you get pages and pages of notes back, and you're getting pages. One of my author friends says it's like going to the doctor and then you're getting your medical report. And if it's lots of pages or lots of red, you just go like, I don't know. Because when it comes in, it's like, am I going to live or am I going to? And I need to walk away for a while because it's so many things. And maybe I'll peek at one page. No, don't even do that. Let's go. Let's go play tennis. Let's go do anything.
Yes, yes, 1,000% yes. That's so funny. Yes.
That's exactly what you do. So was the title always the shampoo effect?
It was at the beginning, and then, I had a dalliance and I flirted with some other titles, but it turned out this was the one for me, and so I came back to it.
It really, really works. And is this the first cover you saw, or did you play around? You have it up there.
Well, we saw a few things, but I found this piece of art, and to me, it just is exactly the soul of the book because it's this woman on this beautiful beach looking at her phone. And if that is not what a mom is doing on the beach, I don't know what is.
And then you get the note that your phone is cooking. Like your phone
Yeah,
is cooking, it's
it's
going to go out.
overheating.
And you're trying to decide, like, no, do you bring it in the water? Do you shake it? I mean, when you get that note, you don't know what to do. I put it under the towel, and turning it off is never what you're thinking. You're thinking anything
Oh.
except turning it off. No, 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 keep
Oh,
it off.
no, good point. No, no. Instead, I'm like taking off the case. Should I rub an ice cube on it? Yeah.
And it's also okay, there's a really interesting thing because the iPhone, which came along when people were like about 28 or 29 right now, sort of changed everything. Before you could text maybe, you could do little things, but now it's like your lifeline. If you don't have this, and I'm always losing my mind in my house. My husband said, "Thank God I don't pay for calling you," because he's always calling my phone to find my phone. Always call my phone. Can you just call my phone? I don't know. It's right next to you. I don't know where my phone is. But it's this thing that I feel in some ways people want to pull back from doing as much as they do on their phones.
Yeah.
And for kids, there's this big conversation about when should they get the phone? When should
Yeah.
they? And these kids in this book are all too little to have that kind of conversation. But oh man, about 4 years from now, those mothers are going to be brewing talking about that on the beach. And whoever gets it first is the most popular. And then
Yeah.
from the one who gets it last, which would have been me, it would have been like, oh no, like I really want this thing, you know?
Totally. Oh, my daughter's asking, but luckily it's summer and she's off to camp and
They
all
can't
she could
bring
bring her
them.
books.
They can't
Nope.
bring their phones.
So
They can't bring
we've
their
we've
phones.
punted that conversation for another day.
Back in September, back in August. Okay, the audiobook of the Shampoo Effect is narrated by Marin Ireland, and she also did Pineapple Street. And I got a chance to listen to
Yes.
some of the audio. What do you like about her narration? What works for you?
To me, she has this very kind of elegant way of speaking, and then she'll go into a character's voice, and all of a sudden you feel like you are inside that other character. I love the way that she uses different voices for the different characters, but I also think that she just has such a crisp elegance to her narration that just
Yes.
I love.
She really, really does. And I listened to part of Pineapple Street too, and I said, yeah, this is really like the voice that really, really works. So, Pineapple Street was inspired by a Times article that you read, and Brooklyn was where you lived. And the shampoo is by your time in Ipswich. So, what's next for you? Do you have to go live someplace, or are
I
you
guess
working on something?
so.
You got to move. I got to go to
So
live in a ski town. I got to go
I
someplace else. I got to go to an island.
I know I'm definitely never going to set my book somewhere unappealing because apparently I'll have to live there.
Yeah.
So I've this time around, I've given myself a little bit of a break and I've said I don't need to start writing until I'm done with book tour. So I'm not going to write until the fall, but I do have an idea for what I want to do next. And, you can, when I'm back here with you in 2 or 3 years, you can tell me whether I was a liar or not. But I really want to try. And instead of rotating point of view, I want to take one character and take them on a longer journey over time. So
Oh,
we'll
okay.
see. Let's see if I can do it. I don't know.
It's so interesting because things work at different times with books as well. If you did multicast, as we're talking about now, 20 years ago, it wouldn't have worked. And when you go back and you look at books, because I have been picking Betsons for, I don't know, they're all over the house. They're in shelves in all different places. The blue ones, anything blue is behind me. It's not necessarily a Betson. It was just to have a good background. But it's really interesting that you go and look and see what have worked here may not work again. Something that
Yeah.
was a big hit here. I mean, when you think about it, we had the Left Behind series, never would work now. We
Yeah.
had so many books that came along and were the thing, and then it went away.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
completely went away. I remember there were a couple of books, there was a children's series that as soon as the last book was sold in the series, they didn't really sell again. Yet all the time along, those were the most popular books. When it hit the end, it was Lemony Snicket. When you hit the end, no one was buying the backlist on those books and reading them again. So it's really interesting to see different trends that have happened through the years that I've sat and watched.
Yeah.
And I said, there's some things that worked at a certain time in our lives that
Hmm.
would not play through today.
Yeah. I mean, and it's so interesting because we have data scientists here at Penguin Random House who say that these trends tend to be about 7 years. They tend to be driven by one category killer that turns people on to a new kind of book. And then there are like other books that follow and build on that trend, and then people kind of read themselves out on a trend. So like obviously Harry Potter launched the trend of adults reading YA. Gone Girl launched the trend of people looking for female psychological thrillers. We at 50 Shades of Grey launched like what turned into like a romance, even though it started out as erotica, a romance trend that's pivoted to become the romantasy trend. Romantasy is not going to last forever. It seems like it's going to bleed next into fantasy. But you often have like one huge book that makes everyone say, "Oh, I loved that. What can I read like that?" And it sort of creates, but then also some of these books, like domestic thrillers or like romance, they are so structured that you're only ever going to have so many different stories. Like it's really hard to come up with a thriller now that is so different from everything else.
Mhm.
So that is sort of sometimes why you sense reader fatigue at the end of a trend era.
Yeah, and what's happening? Have you already played through that character enough? Can you really make that character do one more thing that's going to be interesting? And
Yeah.
or are you reading the same book over and over? And there are
Yeah.
some people who don't mind reading the same book over and over, but then you need that jolt every once in a while that switches things. It's very interesting to have watched this market over this time and watched it from where I am because I was never worked in publishing. I was at a magazine and I was really on the business side for most of it. But to
Yeah.
sit and watch how the trends move and how you have to be on top of it at a certain moment. You have to be
Yeah.
there ready to dive in and figure out what's going to be. When books have such a long nurturing time to them, there's that
Yeah.
the years often of nurturing time. And you can't just
Yeah.
say, let's drop this product in because it's blue and it's going to work, you know?
Yeah. No, and I know that there are other publishers who specialize in being nimble in a way that we're not trying to. I mean, Knopf is a literary house, and we're trying to publish works of art that last and stand the test of time. But I really respect how some other houses were able to say, okay, Romantasy is going gangbusters. We are going to set up an imprint. We're going to take YA writers. We're going to give them specific Romantasy tropes and tell them to turn those books around fast. It still takes what, like a year and a half? I mean, it's not instantaneous. We're not magazine publishing,
No.
we're book publishing. But the thing that's exciting for me to see is that people are still seeking out books that in an age of like, instant gratification, Instagram, Reels, AI, whatever, people are still looking for that pure reading experience that you only get in a book, in a novel.
I agree with you. I agree with you. And a lot of times it's pointing them to that new trend. It's pointing them to get out of the box of what they're reading and read
Yeah.
something else of where the world's developed, where the world has gone from here. And magazines, I left just as the online, they were starting Epicurious when I walked out the door.
Oh,
When you think about it, that all started changing everything.
yeah.
And it happened slowly. Like Cy Newhouse said, print will never go away. Well, that wasn't a real good thought. And where we went from there as a result. But now everybody wants these quick stories too. You're going to read something in the New
Yeah.
Yorker. You're probably going to read more of the New Yorker online than you were ever going to read of the magazine that came to your house. And
Yeah.
get stuff that comes really towards you and it's good because a lot of times people would say, "Oh, I just get it. I don't actually read it." But now you're looking for a specific piece. So there may be
Yeah.
something else you miss. And I think that with a book, you're getting the whole thing. You don't have to read
Yes.
this part. You don't have to
Yeah.
find where the rest is going to be. There's not
Yeah.
another fee to get to that, you know?
No, and I also think that books are helping us sort of calm our nervous systems at the end of a day of doing email whack-a-mole.
I
And
know.
if you're scrolling, you're not getting that sense of calm. You can't, you can't just like let yourself fall asleep. You can't feel like you truly experience something. So a book is like it's also kind of a wellness hack in some ways.
It is. It is. It's this calming thing because it's within these pages. Like that's the end. It's not like you're
Yeah.
going to sit and it's going to be, go from here and there. And I think that people can get themselves so worked up about like a cover line, this or that. I have a joke that every night they need to leave a slot open on the NBC nightly news or whatever news because something's going to come in at 4 or 5 o'clock. I mean, it never
Yeah.
used to be like that. It used
Yeah.
to be if you're going to hit, you got to hit by 12. Not anymore.
Yeah.
Everything's kind of like
No.
upended of what's going on.
Hmm.
And I don't know. I think we're in an interesting time, but I don't think books are going away. I think that what we have to do though is also who's ever reading romantasy right now, what are they going to read next? And
Yeah.
also, when are we going to get to some grown-up issues besides just, and I sound terrible saying that, I really do,
Yeah.
but it's when are we going to get to like the real world? And by reading a book like this, you learn a lot about people, you learn a lot about how people behave, things like that in the real world. And I feel that's really important right now, especially for young people, is that are constantly reading the ethereal, you know what I mean? Like the sword
Yeah.
and that.
Well, I was interested in writing about characters in their 30s because I think that we for so long relegated coming of age to stories of people in their teens or 20s. But as you and I both know, you're never really done coming of age. And you
No.
go through these sort of several really big coming of age moments, when you graduate from high school or when you get your first job and I think for me, one of the biggest coming of age moments is when you become a parent because
Yes.
for the first time you're living for someone else, and for a lot of us, I'm sure other people have led more generous lives than me, but the first time I was really living for someone besides myself was when I became a mother. And so I wanted to sort of, what if I could have people take something from this book, it would be that you're never really all grown up and you're never really done, and that it's all an evolution, and that like every big life change is like an opportunity to become a better version of yourself.
Yeah, and there's people who are all doing different things. They're all in their 30s, they're all doing different things. There's not one is better than the other. One goes to a
Yeah.
bigger job, but in the big scheme of things, who's the better person? And I think
Yeah.
we spend a lot of time I have this thing that I've told many, many times. In your 20s and 30s, you have the best husband, the best this, the best that. And in your 40s, you get honest and go, maybe like the garbage doesn't get taken out as much, or maybe this happens. Maybe that. But till then, everybody's doing this thing about themselves. And I think that's what these characters in the book are finally figuring out, that it doesn't have to be the best version. Like you can say to your friend, you can't wear that bathing suit. You can
Yeah.
honestly say that. She was 16, you couldn't have said that to her because
No.
she's been shattered. Yeah. So, Jenny, this is so much fun. Thank you so much for joining
Oh,
me.
thank you so much. What an awesome conversation. And I appreciate everything you do, not just for me, but for all writers. It's amazing work. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And to everybody else, you want to read this book, it's going to be the book of summer, and we'll see you next time on Book Reporter Talks to. Thank you.